you to all that are also having your cameras on, so that we see that you are really there and not just switching on. And now I see, for example, our Pavel Wojcik also like at night, so I hope that you are there. Okay, go. So welcome everyone, dear colleagues, and soon maybe even experts on PR, ethics, and AI. So it's my great honor to introduce our today's lecture on a crucial and rapidly evolving topic, what is ethics in PR and artificial intelligence. If you maybe noticed, even European Union recently woke up and wants to focus on artificial intelligence, what is great news. And I think Lea-Ann, our speaker, can also reflect to this. So let me introduce Lea-Ann Germinder as a PR expert with deep expertise in ethics, transparency, and responsibility in communication. She is a respected researcher of University of Missouri. And what is also very interesting, and for us, I think, very warm, is that she has Czech roots. She has a lot of experience with Czech Republic. She was maybe because of that inspired to conduct part of her research also in Czech Republic, cooperating with our colleague I'm sorry, I now just I forgot the name of the agency, but you can edit just later on. And we are offering her a unique perspective of the issue of the artificial intelligence ethics, the differences, also the mutual things, the legal context, the changes, and the evolvement and possible future trends. In today's talk, Lea-Ann will provide insights into how artificial intelligence is reshaping our ethical consideration in PR, also how we must respond to these challenges on a global scale. So this session will explore how different cultures and ecosystems approach the ethical dilemmas in PR and AI, and how we can balance the innovation and the responsibility. Just at the beginning, let me thanks to our partners who support us as always, what is Ipsos Media Board and the media house A11. And now please join me in welcoming Lea-Ann to guide us through this belief for you fascinating topic.
Well, thank you very much for that. A very nice introduction. And I was going to say good morning. It's now 6 a.m. in Kansas City, Missouri, where I'm at here. But I understand you all have had a very nice lunch. And hopefully we can have some great dialogue here about what is going on with public relations and AI. Thank you, first of all, to Escopa for having me. I presented in Prague in December at the Czech Academy of Science, this published research, and also at the Charles University. A question was asked, why did I select the Czech Republic as my comparison to the US? That is because, first of all, from a personal perspective, I am part Czech. My great-grandmother is from a village outside of Prague. And I have been coming for 6 years now to visit my relatives, as well as discuss public relations with the PR community. And more importantly to this presentation today, the University of Missouri has a very strong collaboration with Charles University and regularly sends students to the university. So I'm very delighted to be here with you today. Just a little bit more about my background. I'll just leave it at 20 plus years, but I have decades of experience in the US in public relations and strategic communications, working with global brands, primarily pharmaceutical companies, the last half of my career in what we call animal health or veterinary medicine. I do know that the Czech people love their pets, and then we do too. I am an early adopter of technology, have been very interested in technology from the beginning of my career, but also as a practitioner concerned about its ethical use. My agency is Germinder and Associates, and as I said, I do have offices in the New York City and Kansas City area. However, I decided to pursue my doctorate at the University of Missouri after getting my degree at master's at Syracuse University, because right about that time, ChatGPT was launched, and I became very interested in not only the technology, but how we use it responsibly. So my area of emphasis is the responsible use of generative AI in PR and counseling organizations. And I will also share with you, I'm an accredited fellow of what I call my home organization, because I am a member of many, the Public Relations Society of America. And this research comes from many, many fellows that are in PRSA. So coming here from the US, I don't need to tell you that every day there is news, there is geopolitical news, and there is news about AI. And not only every day, but every night. So it's quite an interesting time to be here in the US. In terms of a global perspective on AI, we just as a global community had the Paris AI Summit, and the news coming out there. And by the way, I understand Czechia was invited for the first time, and your president spoke, which is just wonderful. The news coming out of that was that the US and the UK did not sign the Paris AI Summit declaration, but China did. So again, continually, the geopolitical news overrides the AI news, and there's a lot of discussion that that particular declaration was not substantive. Before that event happened this week, last week I had the opportunity to participate verbally as a member of the International Association of Safe and Ethical AI, a side event of the Paris Summit. This is a scientific community of researchers, journalists, ethicists, and what you will find, if you haven't investigated that already, the scientific community is very split on how do we keep going with AI as an innovation and not look at safety. And that's what this particular group is all about. And I'll talk to you about that a little bit later. And then finally, in this swirling geopolitical and AI universe, how do we as public relations practitioner practice responsible AI? And it's very appropriate to have this as it is Ethics Month from Global Alliance. So what I'm going to take you through is the research that I've done in the US. I've updated a little bit to just talk about what's going on, and then I'll talk to you about the comparison that I've just almost completed between Czechia and the United States. So first, what we did is look at the US government regulation, and what I can best tell you is that it is evolving with the new administration. There is lots and lots of rhetoric, strong focus on innovation, national security versus regulation, but there is no federal law in place, nor do we anticipate that there will be. President Trump rescinded the 2023 White House executive order on regulating AI, along with many, many other executive orders. And we are now going through that. Yes, he has an executive order to take a look at what's going on, but that's about it. The U.S. Copyright Office. Copyright has been a big concern here in the U.S. The second part of the report was released in January 2025, and that essentially reaffirmed that it is the human element, the majority, the work must be produced by the majority of a human in order to be copyrightable. In terms of the US states, the regulations vary, but I can tell you there's not much going on. We're waiting to see what comes out of the new administration, and we think, as you have seen in the news, the focus is on innovation versus regulation. Now, excuse me, a couple of the concerns are that Facebook has rescinded fact-checking here in the US, and many of the platforms have rapidly changed their policies. And quite honestly, you have to opt out of them taking your data versus opting in. So that's something that needs to be closely watched. And then finally, here in the US, we are quite a litigious society, and for good or bad in terms of the focus on that. What was interesting is that OpenAI, the owner of ChatGPT, talked about suing DeepSeek, the new product out of China, over copyright, but quickly said, no, we're not going to do that. And they have reasons of their own, because the New York Times is suing Microsoft and OpenAI over copyright as well. Elon Musk, who is constantly in the news for a variety of reasons, both here in the US and globally, he is now suing OpenAI for violations of principles. The idea that OpenAI is wanting to convert from a not-for-profit organization to a for-profit, and also, according to him, violating antitrust laws. And I just saw a news item that, well, he won't buy OpenAI for $94 billion if they don't go to a for-profit organization. So again, the news continues in a 24/7 cycle. Then we also took a look, but of course, this did not happen when we did this particular published research. We also looked at the EU, which I will tell you, yes, there's quite a bit of chafing about it in terms of the focus of regulation versus innovation. However, I guess the best way to put that is that's evolving too, right? From the US perspective, we hold up the EU AI Act, quite honestly, as the gold standard. It is definitely the Wild West here in the US. And so we have looked to the AI Act to say, wow, if you can figure it out, you know, why can't we? However, as I've seen in my most recent research and what was talked about at the AI Summit, is there's a lot of rhetoric about, look, we need to focus on innovation versus regulation. And there's also some bristling about that compliance, right? It's quite complicated. From the US perspective, we must pay attention to that, because we have what we call the Brussels effect. Anything that the EU comes out with, and if you are a global company, you need to pay attention and be in compliance. So again, this is also an evolving landscape. Now, my research, when I chose to look at the US and the Czech Republic, was based on you have one set of regulations and we have another. Maybe that won't be so true as we go forward. Getting back to the published research, we looked at US agencies, corporate, government, academic, widespread of experience, average 24 years. I'm happy to say 57%, so more than half, were accredited public relations professionals and leaders such as myself, which have to have over 20 years of experience in the industry. And we were able to achieve diverse representation by race, gender, and breadth of experience. We looked at industry reports. If you're familiar with CIPRA, which is an excellent report out of the UK, the Chartered Institute of Public Relations, which first looked at AI use by the public relations profession. And this report showed that from 2020 to 2023, not a surprise, with the launch of ChatGPT, usage went from 15 to 57%. And obviously now we're sure that's quite extended. And then another good report to look at from the US specifically is the University of Southern California's Annenberg Center has produced a report. There's a newer report, but my research was based on this. And again, we showed 18 to 80% adoption by the public relations profession of AI. So getting back to why I decided to pursue this, at the time that I started, there were no AI guidelines from any association. Chartered Institute of Public Relations was looking at the AI guidelines, but in terms of incorporating ChatGPT, that did not happen, or you know, the generative AI tools, that did not happen until I believe it was 2023. The US was the first, the Public Relations Council was the first organization to come out with guidelines for the use of generative AI. And why is that? Well, a surprise, you know, what a surprise. The agencies have quite a bit of exposure in how they were using generative AI in terms of what the clients wanted. So they quickly came out with some initial guidelines. I was involved with IPRA's guidelines in August 2023. And then the Public Relations Association of America came out in 2023 as well. So this published research was based on deontological theory of Kant. Basically, Bowen, Shannon Bowen talks about that in terms of basically we need to do what is right. And from also, I looked at the theory from Kathleen Fitzpatrick and Gauthier in 2001, professional theory of responsibility and responsible advocacy, looking at access, process, truth, and disclosure. And these were based on looking at the PRSA guidelines. My published research is in the Public Relations and Strategic Communications book by Alexander Laskin and Catherine Freeberg, as well as I'm happy to report in the International Journal of Strategic Communications. And again, we looked at truth, disclosure, access, and process. The questions were, as I interviewed the US practitioners, what ethical challenges, issues, and opportunities do we face with the use and growth of generative AI? And how should practitioners meet the challenge of this new technology? So what were the findings here? Well, not a surprise. Everyone agreed that there was lots and lots of hype. What was interesting was the participants did not necessarily agree on what was ethical. So from that perspective, what I mean is everyone was intrigued by the opportunity, but had a bit of a caution for the Wild West mentality. Now, this was 2023, late 2023 primarily, early 2023, late 2023, and published in late 2024. The question is, how do the ethical codes fit? Many participants said, we need to take a stand on who we are, regardless of what's going on in terms of the focus on innovation. And then there was a significant portion said, yes, but we cannot be left behind. So yes, we need to be ethical, but we can't be left behind. And I think that's a conundrum that we face today. Another interesting finding in this published research is that disclosure is very definitely called for in our ethical guidelines, but everyone is not in agreement. And where that disagreement comes in is primarily that we already use Grammarly in the background. We use AI tools in the background. We write in the background, and we don't necessarily disclose that, you know, ghostwriting of speeches and so on. So this is an area that will continue to be something of discussion, and you'll see that in a minute as well. Final guidelines in terms of the, the finding highlights. Absolutely, testing and training are essential. At the particular time I did this research, everyone called for testing, trying it out, but that the human fact-checking was essential. And as if you recall, when Chat GPT first came out, there were some situations where fact-checking was not going on, and that junior level folks were using the Chat GPT and not fact-checking appropriately. And I think that's where the experience comes in. And then, of course, understanding the tools and what are the privacy, confidentiality parameters of each individual tools. And the other issue was, or concept was, that associations are absolutely valuable in the training and guidelines. Remember that over half of the participants in this research are leaders in PRSA and feel that we should not only issue the guidelines, but participate in training and collaboration. And I'm very happy to say everyone felt that we needed to collaborate globally on this. So where we landed with this initial published research is that we need to align responsible public relations with responsible AI. Responsible AI is a concept that was coined by the tech industry in 2018 to embrace safe and ethical, secure, legally responsible governance AI. But we've seen that it has not necessarily panned out from what was articulated in the written documents versus what is actually practiced. And so this is an important concept. And we, as public relations professionals acting responsibly, can help guide the responsible AI as we practice our version of responsible public relations. So from that perspective, we need to be adaptable. We need to grow professionally to meet this challenge. It means we are going to need to understand more about the technology and what exactly is going on, and not be so caught up in the innovation that we forget our ethical grounding. And again, the associations and guidelines will be key. Okay, so I know you've been waiting for this in terms of the new research that I'm doing. It is not published yet, and so I'm just going to give you some highlights, but I'm happy to talk to you more about it in the discussion portion of this presentation. Again, why, I was asked why Czechia, and because you have a fantastic country and you are very pro innovation, very smart. And the association with Charles University gave me an opportunity to collaborate with a fabulous researcher, Markéta Kaklova, which I'm sure many of you know. She's a former journalist, and she's a PhD student at Charles University. And so I thank everyone that has participated to date in this research and for those introductions from Markéta. So here's some preliminary findings. And as I said to you from the beginning of discussing why I chose Czechia, you also are in the EU, yeah? And so the thinking was that, okay, it has to be different as to how you practice generative AI within your country versus the US. Not really so. About half, the majority of people are using ChatGPT in both the US and the Czech Republic, but half are using the free tools and half are using the paid. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. The next tool that's being used is Canva, which was also a little bit of surprise. Canva is used extensively in the US. It's a very easy to use tool. And it's also used extensively in the Czech Republic. Now, People that are using more sophisticated, that get involved in more sophisticated graphics are using Midjourney. And again, that's in both countries. An interesting finding was that DeepL translation tool is used in Czechia quite extensively, whereas in the United States, the PR Council was adamant that we not use translation tools because they're not good enough, and we could be using them and the translation was not accurate. That was not the reasoning in Czechia. The reasoning in Czechia was that so many of the documents need to be translated from the English, and with human oversight, you know, the DeepL gets it to a certain level, and then you are able to take it to the next level. So that was quite interesting. Another interesting finding was the use of Microsoft Copilot. When I started out this research, it was I expected that it was going to be primarily the use of ChatGPT and another product, Claude, I'll talk to you about in a minute. But many people are either using Microsoft Copilot, and if they're using Microsoft Copilot, it's because they're using the Microsoft Office suite, and it has the guardrails, and it's integrated within their work streams. But there were several people that tried Microsoft Copilot, and again, this is both in the US and both in the Czech Republic, and found it to be very lacking compared to the intuitiveness of ChatGPT, that it was quite clumsy. So that was an interesting finding of the disparity. And again, this is between the US and Czechia, there really was no difference. There were people that loved it, and there were people that said, oh, that, you know, we're sticking with ChatGPT. Another interesting product is Gemini, and that came up, not so much the Gemini. I didn't have a logo for it's the Gemini LM notebook product. And what that allows you, this came up in several interviews with US practitioners, and some of you may be using this. This is a product that you can put your own information in, guardrails, paid, okay, so secure, and present some analysis that you may not have thought of. Now, again, the human component, which we'll talk about in a minute, is key here, but this is a tool that takes it to the next level, and so I think that's something that's going to be interesting to see. And then there are other tools I mentioned that are being used. Grammarly, Adobe is used just about by everyone, you know, cleaning up little things. Claude is an interesting product. It's not really, I did not really hear many people using it in the Czech Republic. It is from Anthropic, and it's used more by creatives. And again, it's sort of like Microsoft Copilot, where it's people love it, or people are, no, I'll stick with ChatGPT. Now, then we come to DeepSeek, which I put on here for a purpose, because when I conducted this research, DeepSeek had not come out. It is a product that China came out with. It is open source. Do not know what the impact is in the Czech Republic or the US. I'm actually attending an AI summit at IBM in a couple weeks, and I think that will be a topic of discussion. It is having an impact in terms of the cost of the US products, and can they bring down the cost? Will it be used extensively? It has been downloaded a lot by people in the US, but I don't have data on that yet from the US public relations practitioners. But this brings me to a very important discussion that I think we need to have as a public relations profession. and that is the tools, free versus paid. As I said, half the practitioners in the US and half in Czechia are using free tools. And the concern is with the confidentiality. And let me dial that back a minute. Everyone is concerned about confidentiality. Everyone. People that are using free tools versus paid. But yet there is not a concern with using the free tools, which do offer less guardrails. So that's, again, is perplexing to me, which I don't really have an answer for. Obviously, it's a free tool, so you want to use it. I understand that because, quite honestly, I have tested the free tools. But beyond that and putting in information, that's a big question mark there. So the practitioners, again, both in the Czech Republic and in the US that are tech proficient, are more tech proficient, let's say it that way. And of course, the larger organizations are all using paid tools. The paid tools do offer more guardrails, more security, protection, and so on. But again, they come with a cost. And as a small agency owner, I definitely sympathize with that aspect. The concern, again, in the US is that the tech companies are rolling back those guardrails to focus on innovation. And what will be the safety and security of these free tools? And we can talk about free and what that really means. And then from an equitable perspective, how are we supposed to optimize the adoption fairly if we have this concern? And I think that's legitimate. So to be honest with you, my hope is that the light bulb goes on and that the tech companies that are responsible for making these tools safe address that issue. So happy to share that in this new research, human oversight is paramount, whether you're in the US or whether in the Czech Republic. Everyone understands that the role of the human in our profession is critical. Another jargon term is human in the loop. It's the most important concern. And why is that? Because we are a human-centric profession. It may have been expressed a little bit differently in the Czech Republic. And quite honestly, some of it was, look, Lea-Ann, we are human. This is not possible. We cannot allow technology to overtake our profession. Versus the US said, yeah, we're human. We need to keep control of this because this is what we do. This is who we are. So even when the tools are used a little bit more sophisticated in a way, predominantly they are still used as idea starters. And that's one of the concerns, yeah, that we do not present the AI, a predominantly AI product to the clients, to our organizations. We need that human element. And that's even for the more tech savvy, if you will, folks that are gaining deeper insights. It's, yeah, okay, this is an idea, but I need to dig further to determine what is my recommendation to my client or my organization. So then we get to the final preliminary finding that I wanted to talk to you about, and that is truth, trust, and transparency. Truth is something that we all universally agree that we must be truthful in our communications to the public. It's in the guidelines. It's who we are. Yes, we must convey that. We must within our AI fact checking and convey that, yes, we have check fact this AI for truth. There is a little nuance there, though, that is very important. And that is there are several participants, again, both in the US and the Czech Republic, that would never use AI for images, which quite honestly, from a marketing perspective, you know, it's exciting. I presented Coca-Cola, for example, that is a big user of AI for images that have their own proprietary images to use. But that also has come with controversy. But getting back to, and why is that? Because authenticity is paramount. And in particular, some of the practitioners that I spoke to in the Czech Republic either were involved with photography, with original photography products, or were very focused on storytelling to get their message across. And so you cannot use AI images of people. You must use real images. So truth is paramount. Trust, again, paramount in both countries. It's so integral to the relationship with the client, within the organizations themselves, that we trust our colleagues. But the interesting thing about that was that was also used as a rationale for not having written policies, that we trust each other, and also that we can independently train on the AI, and we do not need formal training. And that's a little bit troubling, because yes, we do trust each other, but there is so much information to share, and we are learning about this technology that we need to act collaboratively, and we do need to have some guardrails. Again, the last one I want to talk to you about in the findings is this issue of transparency. Transparency is, or disclosure is articulated in all of the AI guidelines, yet there continues to be very strong disagreement with how and when to disclose. There are participants in the US that say, yes, you must disclose. There are participants in the US that say, no, my clients don't know that I use AI. I don't know how that's possible. In the Czech Republic, the same thing. And it's not seen as something that is disingenuous. It's seen as, well, I'm using AI as an idea starter, and why do I need to share that with the client? Other people in the Czech Republic, of course, we've discussed this with the client, and of course they are in alignment. Some clients do not allow us to use AI, so there's some of that. Same in the US. And of course, if it is a global company and you are internal, there are very strong guidelines, and if you have global clients, those particular people are discussing it, and so there's still a wide disparity there. Okay, so where do I land at the present time in terms of this research? And of course, always open for discussion. This responsible public relation must include this responsible AI and how we are defining responsible AI. I am sure you have all heard this, that AI will not replace you. A strategic communicator who knows AI will. So don't wait to be informed. If for whatever reason you haven't tried it, there are many different ways to try the free products without putting confidential information. But certainly, as I've outlined from the beginning of this presentation, the adoption and growth of AI technology is faster than we've ever seen, and I've had decades of technology adoption. Help the profession itself embrace the technology responsible. We need to have more collaboration between the tech savvy, if you will, practitioners and the folks that are still, challenged to understand the technology. One of the things that was articulated in the US is that the public relations profession was very slow to adopt social media. And there's a sentiment there that we will not do that now. And marketers were very savvy about adopting social media. And many of us work in integrated agencies where we have marketing and public relations. So the idea is, no, we are not going to be left behind. Be a leader. Advocate for that training and the ethical and responsible use. Again, proceed with the implementation. I'm not saying don't do it, but be ethical and responsible. And I started out saying, don't wait to be informed. Honestly, stay informed. It is definitely, has always been a 24/7 news cycle, but with this particular development of generative AI and the focus on innovation, we really need to stay informed, learn from our associations, not only learn the technology and learn from our peers and industry leaders. Now, I am almost ready to wrap up here, but I do want to give another what we call shout out to Markéta Kaklova, because she has published in-depth research. Her research was also published in the International Journal of Strategic Communication. She took a look at the use of generative AI adoption among Central and Eastern European PR professionals. She looked at adoption, barriers, and reservations. Her research is based on Rogers' diffusion of innovation theory and the global capability framework. She did find that there were significant issues with the language disparity, which with the LLMs developed in English, which I think bears out, which is why so many people in Czechia told me they were using the DeepL, but they also had heavy human involvement in those translations. In her final finding, the trust, time saving and cost saving very much influenced adoption. So again, they're my concern with how do we manage the landscape of use of free tools when we are looking for that cost savings with the tools. Yes, it's a cost saving in terms of cost of savings of time, but we also are going to have to pay more and more for these tools to get the security that we want. There was a press release on Mesodata, but she is doing new research, quantitative research that will go to the Cultural Ministry in May 2025. So there'll be much more research coming out. Then in terms of some guidelines for you to take a look at, the Global Alliance has AI guidelines. Of course, ASCOPA has your guidelines that are based on IPRA. IPRA has specific AI guidelines. And then, as I mentioned to you, time is always an issue in our profession, but I would really urge you to take a look at what the scientists on the side of safety and ethical, and by the way, they are not saying we can't have AI. They're just saying it needs to be safe and ethical. Stuart Russell out of Berkeley founded this organization. Many researchers are involved, journalists and ethicists. And if you go to that link, that some of those seminars are streamed online. So I finally get to my questions. And I have my contact information and my research here. And so now I'm going to escape. Let's see here. Here we go.
Yeah,
okay.
Thank you very much, Lea-Ann. It was a very interesting presentation. It was, for me, really refreshing to hear, I think, after a long time, that you are taking as a role model or anything that is an inspiration from EU, because we usually hear the opposite, that you are ahead of many things, and we are just trying to catch up the wagon. So if you call something like a Brussels effect, yeah, it's really rewarding for us that we could be also inspiration for you. Maybe I will start before someone jumps, and just you can raise your hand, or you can have a question in the written form. So maybe I'll just ask you, like, what do you think, and also like from the perspective of the PR, that the main effect of the artificial intelligence will be? So will we really improve our outputs, and will the quality of our work get higher, or it will be the opposite, that we will take the average output of artificial intelligence as something that is kind of like enough? That means just like, yeah, whatever, we have to speed up, and if we take care of everything, just let's have it, and it's okay.
I agree. Well, I hate to say this, but I think it's going to be split. You know, and this is where senior practitioners really need to step up, step in, and reaffirm what is quality work. Yeah. And I'll give you an example of another technology. You know, we used to print everything. Yeah. With go to the printer, right? Well, how many print things off the desktop printer? And it is, as you say, good enough. So we all do it. I do it. Hello. But I love the beautiful printed printed piece, just as our clients and our organization truly value the human strategic counsel. And we need to continue to maintain that human element. We need to take the good from the AI and continue with that strategic counsel. So I think it's just, as I said, it's going to be like everything else. There's going to be garbage, if you will. There's going to be mid-level stuff. And then there's going to be the really good stuff. And it's the people that understand the AI and how to leverage it effectively and understand ethics and good strategic counsel. Those are going to be the ones, the agencies, the individuals that are going to rise to the top.
Okay, thank you. Can I also ask you for kind of like a question of like what this, if you would imagine like that it's really misused, so that all the ethical rules are broken, like what would be the worst case scenario, how it would work? So I can imagine, like with Canva, you mentioned, many companies, I think they don't realize that it's artificial intelligence. They just use it because it's so easy to use. They push there all the data, especially when they do some kind of like presentations, and they don't care, in fact. So what would be the worst case scenario, that the companies are sharing this way their internal data that their competitors will buy from someone who can misuse it? What could be the trend?
Well, of course, in the US, we say you'll get sued. You know?
Sure.
You know, but from the agency perspective, you would lose a client. Yeah, lose a client. And then some other agency comes with the crisis management and gets the client. So maybe that's the opportunity. I don't know. No, this is very serious, very serious. From the internal perspective, yeah, you could lose your job. I spoke to a compliance officer in a major pharmaceutical company, and they have incredible guardrails, if you will. And I don't know if you use this term. It's called whack-a-mole. It's, you know, it's what it means is that you think you have all this security, and then, oh, there's somebody using their personal computer at home. You know, you have all these rules. So you just do the best you can. You just do the best you can. But yes, you will, in the US, you'll get sued. Both countries, you'll lose a client. As an individual, you could lose your job. And then at the end of the day, you have to say to yourself, who am I? What is this came up in the Czech Academy of Science presentation. There's a big discussion about ethics. What is ethics? You know, ethics is what you believe, you doing the right thing every single day. And only you can decide that. what am I doing correctly? Am I following my personal ethical code? Yes, the association guidelines are great, and that's for everybody, but as an individual, you have to say that. What am I doing? Am I following my ethical code? And that's the best we can do. Yes, there are going to be great harms. It's interesting to see, though, that there has been misuse of AI in terms of, when the AI first came out, people using it and saying, okay, here you go, client, this is it. And I think people have become more savvy. As far as the disinformation, I think this, yes, is a very, very big concern. I don't know what the answer is, because there's bad people in society, and let me just say this, in every profession, right? There's bad actors and good actors, and then people are looking to leadership to show them the right way. I hope that answers your question.
And you also provoke to be active in a way that we shouldn't wait for the involvement, but we should be able to, let's say, proactively get the skills of using the artificial intelligence. So maybe could you elaborate a little bit more, like, who do you think should be the one at the driver's seat? Like, are these the agencies? Are these professional associations? Are you the researchers who should be the ones who should push the, let's say, the need of new skills? Because, for example, a few years ago, I think no one would ask you if you are not only, let's say, like computer or digital skill developed, but now it can be like a serious question, like if you are going to join a new job or agency or whatever else.
Right. Well, AI is affecting everyone in society. Yeah. And there is the Council on Education in the US has put out a report and said, yes, absolutely, public relations professionals need to have what we call analytical skills, and use of technology. And yes, so I think it's a matter of, again, as an individual and as a profession, do we want to be leaders in society? Do we want to help in the safe and ethical, implementation of AI, or do we want to wait for somebody else to do that? It's a collaborative effort, and when I started this research, I was very naive about it and said, "Oh, well, we're going to be the leaders." Yeah, we got a long way to go, but collaborators, yes. And ethical leaders, yes, I do think we have a position there, and it's very exciting, but it needs to be collaborative with the technology, with the marketing experts. All of us together need to work on this.
Mm-hmm. Because maybe it intrigues me to another question. Like, can you imagine in a kind of maybe like soon future that we have also something like an awards for the best use of artificial intelligence in public relations or anything?
Okay, I am a judge of the National PRSA Awards, and have to tell you that I raised my hand. They do have a category, and I raised my hand and said, "Hey, I want to be a judge of that category." And they told me that they will see how many. I think the deadline is this week for PRSA. They told me that there were no entries last year. In that they had the category, there were no entries. What does that say?
And is it really called like of the best use of artificial intelligence, or how is the category named? Do you?
It's always about it's the silver anvils are the awards, and there's many different categories, and the category is the best use of AI. So I'll come back and tell you after I've judged.
Yes, please do share with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And actually, yes. And what I would say for a scope is, I do think you should take a look at that. I really do. Because the awards programs, right, for so many reasons. you know, yes, we can share with our clients, yes, we won these awards, but we also learn from each other. Yeah. So what are the best practices? So absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. And we have a question from the audience. Pavle?
Lea-Ann, well, was there anything when you conducted your new research that really PR experts did not care for, or I believe that you definitely had some ideas or expectations what should be on agenda and what was really something what was not on agenda, and what was and that was really surprising for you.
Well, the big surprise for me was there was not a difference in what I thought was, you know, the EU AI Act, the impact of that in the Czech Republic was not significant whatsoever. And the reason for that is it's not just the public relations profession, yeah, right? I mean, what my understanding is, the countries are grappling with that. How do you comply with this AI? It's very complicated and so on. So that was a big surprise to me. And of course, the US, so that was one. The second one that I thought was interesting for both is that if you were a leader in an association, you know that the associations have AI guidelines, but many practitioners either don't know about them or admitted to me, yeah, I know there's something out there. But again, this is not, what do we call this is not just in the Czech Republic, right? This is in the US too. So what is my reflection on that? My reflection on that is everybody's busy. Everybody's busy doing the work, right? They're doing the work. They're doing the best they can. And so we as association leaders just need to keep at it. Keep getting that message across that, yes, there are AI guidelines. Keep having these kinds of discussions. Yeah. So those were two surprises, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. It reminds me.
Thank you. And I'm really curious about results of that category focused on using AI in US boarding. It will be really inspiration for us as well.
Yes, I will definitely report back on that. So I don't know. Do you take international members? I may have to join and judge yours too.
Okay, we should open the category, but it's
does the fact that my great grandmother is Czech, does that help weigh in?
Okay, how quickly can you learn Czech?
We can manage it somehow. We can manage it somehow.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And Jana Drunska has a question, please.
Yes. Could you share with us some example when AI was not used ethically in public relations activities? Because I don't know any, so I would like to ask for some example with negative impact.
Yeah. So I don't have a specific example on the text, but on the AI images, getting back to that authenticity, there's two things I can talk about. So one is the use of AI to represent DEI, which is, I'm sure is a very, very big, DEI right now is a very, very controversial topic in the US. It's not, I mean, it's something that actually PRSA just came out with a statement that we support DE&I, okay? But it's a very contentious issue broadly. So the PR Council cited a use of AI generated diverse images to reflect that a company was committed to diversity. And these were not real images. So I'll give you the reverse of that. Dove, Unilever, that owns the Dove brand, came out and said, we absolutely, I'm sure familiar with the Real Beauty campaign, that they use real images and real diverse images, and that they have put a stake in the ground and said, we will never use AI generated images. We will use real people and real diversity. A second was a company that is actually a company that is a photography company, and so they will never ever use an AI generated image because that's who they are, authenticity. There was another one that was an NGO that tells the stories of people that they've helped, and so they said to me they will never use an AI generated image. It will always be real people telling real stories. So, you know, that's important. So if you take that a little bit further, right, to the text, you can't have that text, you know, the story of that person they've helped. That has to be a real story. Yeah. You could check it with Grammarly and then send it back to the person and say, okay, is this okay? I think that's reasonable, but yeah. So does that help? And I'm going to give one more example that we talked about extensively in the Charles University, and that was Coca-Cola was attacked because they had, right around Christmas time, you can find it on YouTube, they had come out with a vintage Coca-Cola ad, and they used AI. They used it, and this was an ad, right? They used AI to generate images, and they got attacked for it. However, this is something Apple's another, again, I've worked in many, by the way, I've worked in many ad agencies, so this is not an attack on ad agencies. I love them. But Apple was attacked for not using real musicians to, I think it was in June, for an ad, and used AI. But the interesting thing about this was Jitka said, you know, where are we going to be with this? Is I took a look at the sales, just you know, the sales, and neither Coca-Cola or Apple were hurt in any way of their sales. These were controversies online. And I'm bringing that up for an important point because, you know, this is going to be an issue, right? Like AI is going to be used. There's going to be controversy, and you know, as organizations, let me say, they're going to look at that and say, well, you know, okay, was that noise on social media? Does that really matter? You know, I personally think, it's not in my research here, but I think that the use of AI will absolutely be a corporate social responsibility issue, and how we use that AI. And that's going to be that next step and so Unilever's an example. Unilever has come out and said, okay, you know, we're not going to use it for the images. So I think this is a very, very important discussion, and thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, and maybe my last question is, like, where are you going to direct your research next? So what's up on your mind?
Yeah. Well, I have specialized, you know, when I told you at the beginning, I've specialized in veterinary medicine, and I'm going to be taking a look at how veterinarians implement responsible AI. You know, pet owners are going online and there was actually a very early on a situation where a pet owner went to ChatGPT and said that the ChatGPT found the disease that the veterinarian didn't find. So, so I'm very interested to see how are veterinarians using AI and how the pet owners perceive that, how are pet owners. So that's a niche. And so that will then extend. I'll be taking a look at other corporate categories to see, you know, what are they doing in that. So that's where it's going. Hopefully I'll get there.
So what you probably will prevent is to pay a sponsorship to an artificial intelligence kind of like recommend my products. Yeah.
You know, pets, I have to say, pets is interesting, right? Because it's, you know, the human animal bond. This is what we, and now we're using AI. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see.
And we usually pay more attention to their health than ours. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
That's easy. Yeah, Lea-Ann, we are, I think, coming to the end of our session. Thank you very much for sharing even like these brand new findings that have never been on air yet. So thanks a lot for this. Thank to all the participants and their questions. And let's have hope for our cooperation on the awards of the best use of artificial intelligence in Czech PR. I hope that at least our participants got inspired by this and they will come with wonderful projects, all ethical, of course.
Yes, yes.
So thank you very much, Lea-Ann. Thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon for you. Have a lovely day in America.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay,
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.